Well, I just rebooted my computer, so can people hear us now? All right. Sorry, I forgot to turn on the microphone. All right. So on the YouTube, I'll fix it. But other than that, you guys are going to hear all this on the audio. I'll fix it on the YouTube video. All right. So as I was saying before, there's going to be a little bit of programming issue just because I need to take a break mentally because of everything that's happened recently in my life. I just need to take a break. That's why I took the week off last week. And for the foreseeable future, I'm going to have Matt taking over hosting duties. You guys seem to like him as a host, so I'm going to let him host. But before I officially turn it over to Matt this week, I have the sound challenge for you guys this week. So, Matt and Alex, since you guys are on cameras, you have your pen and papers? I can't hear you, Matt. Okay. And Yield, you are just going to give us your answer. So the way we're going to do this, because Yield's not on camera, I'm going to play the sound, and Yield's going to give us his answer. And then Alex and Matt are going to hold up their papers before Yield gives his answer, and then they're going to turn over and let me know their answers. I already tested this with Dex. Dex could not figure this out without a clue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the sound. If none of you guys get it right, I have a backup sound for you guys. Okay? So here is this week's sound. Okay. All right. Don't give your answer yet. All right. Well, I had this one a little longer because of the fact that it was a little challenging. I wanted to give... Dex couldn't get it without a clue, and both Alex and Matt are both wrecking their heads right now. All right. Here we go again. All right. So, in the chat, who can't be heard right now? Because you guys should all be being able to be heard. Matt can't be it. All right, say something now, guys.
Something. Oh, that's feedback.
Music.
Testing.
There's feedback.
Well, if I just fix the problem, then we're going to have to figure out the feedback for next week. All right. So, the problem we had with you guys hearing an echo, we're going to have to figure out. You have to deal with the echo this week until I can figure this out for next week.
Tricky at his computer.
I rebooted the computer. Different. I just got to get settings. All right. Here's the sound again for Alex and Matt. Say we're saying it's Open Arms by Journey and Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio. Both of those are wrong. All right, so Matt and Alex, have you written your answers down?
Yeah.
No, because I'm still stuck.
I'll give you 5 more seconds, and then you're just going to have to be wrong by default.
I'm wrong by default.
Just go last.
Because I'm really gonna.
Well, no,
hate
he
this.
can't go last because if you give your answer,
Then he can write down his answer.
right, that's why they have to hold up theirs before you give yours. All right, Alex, hold your answer up. All right, not hiding your answer.
Pinky in the brain.
Stop picking in the braid.
I know, this is
Spice
last
Girls.
week.
All right, Yield, what's your answer?
It's Darkwing Duck.
Yes, it is Darkwing Duck.
Why did I not hold it? Okay, because Yield.
Because Yield can see your answer.
Yield knew it. Yield knew it long before everybody else did.
All right. Matt, you really didn't get that?
No, because it's been forever since I've seen Darkwing Duck.
All right. Just for shits and giggles. Hold
So I
on.
said the original's better.
All right, just for shits and giggles. If you guys, I'm just gonna play this one, and if you guys can figure it out, just say the answer. Here we go.
You can't have one without the other.
Yep.
Love and Marriage. Oh, it's the.
It's Frank Sinatra. Yeah.
Al Bundy.
From-
It's Family. No, not Family Matters.
You guys are both saying the
Married
right
Children.
answer.
It's Married with Children.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's Married with Children, but it is by Frank
It's
Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra.
It is Frank Sinatra.
So Matt gets the extra bonus points for knowing the original.
Well, I mean, Married with Children theme song is Frank Sinatra, so I mean, it's not like it's the original; it's the actual song. But I'm laughing because Saber said "married with would children" in the chat.
Wood.
Oh, it's funny because I was gonna do a Beavis and Butthead one for you this week, but I decided not to.
He said wood.
All right, so Matt, take over the show. Just for the record, the scores are now Yield 2, Alex 2, Matt, Goose Egg.
Love me some eggs.
Matt, show's yours.
Because it's the same exact number of trophies or platinums I have. However, you all seem to have some updated counts. So, Tricky, what are your updated trophies?
You would think that I'd be prepared for this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then Alex, while Tricky gets prepared.
You would think
what
that
are
I'd be
your-
prepared for this.
I am level 958 total trophies of 33,804 with 976 plats. I got one plat, but we don't have to talk about it.
I
Okay.
am level 510, total trophy count of 10,137 with a platinum count of 178 in 177 games.
All right, Yield.
I am currently sitting at 518 with a trophy count of 1055 due and a platinum count of 196.
So I haven't budged at all this week, mainly because I've been playing some other games. And I will say the latest achievement I got was rescue Marias Luz from the Chaos Assault in Space Marine 2. And Sid is at level 120, 338 trophies with 4 platinums. So good on Sid. So this week we've been playing a bunch of games, I assume, seeing as how some of you guys have escalated trophy counts. So Alex, first up, what have you been playing?
Damn, you're gonna go straight to me. So I got to stay home because I was, well, it sounded like a pleasure. It wasn't. I was sick for part of the week. Like I said, got the ick from Louder Than Life, which I was at last week. Yeah, I basically don't have anything new to report that I've been playing. I have been playing a lot of the same stuff. Rocket League, not, I would say Helldivers, but I basically just logged on to get my medals from the major orders. Really, most of my time has been dumped into more wildcard football, which in the rarity event has helped propel me above Tricky in the bottom league. So Tricky's been talking shit all year, and within like one fell swoop, I'm already ahead of him again.
You're already ahead of him. I thought that was hilarious.
Yep. And like I said, I still have more ultra rares that I haven't gotten credit for in that game. So we'll see where I end up after that. But yeah, just like I said, just more of wildcard football. I love the whole thing, like I said, with the specialized arenas, like a movie set, a castle in England, the pier in Chicago, all these different, there's like a farm down in Nashville, which you can kind of home base your own team wherever you want to, and the team you build up kind of from low rankings and take them to higher rankings. And so me being from Louisville, Kentucky, one family who owned a farm, I definitely chose the farmland as my home field. So I like all the over the top, it being arcade style, all the characters are like over the top. They're bulkier than they normally are. They got big old shoulders, big old muscles. And I like the caricatures kind of like they still look like themselves. So like Patrick Mahomes still looks like himself and all the different players still look like themselves, but obviously bulkier characterized versions of themselves, which I definitely like. And I like the different arenas. It's just beyond like a sports arena, which for me, I like the all of that, the pageantry, and like all the weird places you can play. It just gives the game a better feel than just kind of playing in a stock arena, which is kind of boring. And like I said, it's a little bit too simulation for me. And you can, earn these different outfits, like crazy outfits that you can dress people up in. So I really like that. And, I like the gameplay. I think a lot of people were disappointed with it because they expected more out of it. But overall, for me, as like an arcade style football game, it's a lot of fun. I am having to grind for a lot of the trophies. So once I'm done with the game, I've got all the trophies. I definitely am probably just going to delete it from my console, not because I don't like it, but just because I've played so much of it, I don't really think I need to play anymore. I kind of proven myself in it, so to speak. The one really negative thing to this game is that you have to be online always. You have to be connected to Saber Interactive servers, because if you're not connected to their servers, if there's a blip in your internet, and you're even in the middle of an exhibition game against the computer, it kicks you out of the game and sends you back to the main menu, which is incredibly frustrating because, internet, sometimes there are issues with that. And just playing a game, you're like maybe in the fourth quarter and then you get kicked back to the main menu. It's like, man, I spent all that day. Granted, a game's not that long, but still, it's like you don't want to spend that time and waste your time and feel like you did nothing with it. So, and especially having to grind out game after game after game, you want to get credit for what you do. So that's probably the worst thing about this game, is having to be connected to Saber servers and the internet at all times, because even when you're, we had the outage on the PlayStation Network maybe 4 or 5 days ago, and even though this game has exhibition against the computer and local multiplayer, I couldn't get on to play it or, start up a game because it has to connect to their servers. So that's the worst part about it. Overall, I do appreciate the arcade style of it. I appreciate all the things that come with it, the different costumes, the different arenas. But again, it's on PlayStation Plus Extra. Try it for yourself, and just be aware that you do have to be connected to the internet in order just to start up a single game, which is very annoying. But yeah, overall, that's all I've been playing. Besides, like I said, played some Rocket League, gearing up. We're in October here, where the Haunted Hallows has to be coming up. It doesn't feel like even a year since we had the Haunted Hallows last year, where they gave us the Nightmare Before Christmas stuff, which was my favorite Haunted Hallows of all time. But yeah, I'm gearing up for Halloween, and Rocket League usually delivers pretty good when it comes to Halloween stuff. So, but unfortunately, because I've been grinding away so much to try to get the platinum in wildcard football, really haven't played much else than that.
All right. Yield, how about you?
Played some Rocket League. I've done some more World of Warship Legends, working through my bureau projects. Dove into some Helldivers to work on my medals. Almost got the latest war bond done. Been farting around with some Lawnmower Simulator, chopping away at that, and got back into some Flat Out 4 Total Insanity, because I don't have enough money to buy all the cars when I buy my physical copy to get the platinum. So I just restarted playing through the last All-Star race to get the most money and just kind of stockpiling some money. And that's really been it. I've been watching more movies than playing video games this week.
Have you been watching scary movies, Yield?
No, not into scary movies.
Oh, I didn't know if the ramping up is. I mean, it's the first of or the beginning of October, October 6th. So I didn't know if you guys got that itch. You got the fall itch, and you were on a rampage going through all the thrillers and whatnot.
So I will send you guys a picture of the latest ornament I got for my yard as far as scary month goes. So I will move on to Tricky in a second. But Yield, you said you're banking on some money in the game. What are you looking to do with that?
You need, according to the internet, you need around $1 million to buy all the cars, and I only had like 250 when I was done with the game, and I used some of that to get the trophy. You had to have 2 cars bought in each class. So I bought 2 cars, got that trophy. It's either the first of this week or the end of last week, one of those two. And then I was like, I don't wonder how much money I need to buy the rest of these cars. So I looked it up, and they're like, you need $1 million, roughly. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, I need to start banking some money. That way, when the physical copy shows up, I can just pop it in and pop the trophies and be officially done with it.
Okay. Tricky, anything you've been playing this week that's fun, entertaining?
I'll get into it on our one of the games on our first topic because I have a few things to say about that. I've been playing some Division. I popped into Thunder Ray. I played that a little bit.
That's the boxing game I was telling everybody about.
Yeah, I got to catch up to you in points because you wanted to brag a little bit. So.
I don't know how I got so many points for that game because if you go look at the PS4 version on PlayStation profiles, they're mostly common and uncommon. There's not like they're rare trophies.
Well, I think I lost points this week. And I think the trophies in Astrobot and Outlaws have decayed.
And probably the first Ascendant as well. I mean, you've been playing all new games, and at the start, if you're get to the Platinum Trophy before other people, you're going to get a whole bunch of points. But then as time comes on, especially with popular games, you are probably going to lose points on that because of decay.
Yeah. But I've been playing some MLB The Show, some NHL 24, some Outlaws. I went back to Deadpool and got a trophy that surprisingly was rare that I never got. And it was simple. All I had to do is start the game up and then lower Deadpool's volume, and it gave me a trophy.
Are you talking like the PS3 Deadpool?
The PS3 Deadpool game, but I got it on the 4.
Gotcha.
There is a trophy, and I'm looking it up right now. Like I said, the literally you just had to turn the volume down, and it gave you the trophy. Something about shutting him. Oh, it's only when he stops breathing, set the dialogue volume slider to 0. I got that.
That sounds like a Deadpool trophy.
Yeah, well, there's two. You get 2 trophies just for starting the game.
So it's full of trophies that Matt would love. The Matt Memorial trophies. Even though Matt's
I'm
not.
sure I have Deadpool trophies. I played through the game, so they'll be there. I just didn't actively try to get them.
How can earning those trophies, Matt, starting the game? How can you sleep at night?
On a pillow that I cry into.
What PS3 game? You'll know this. What PS3 game did you get for like checking the start menu or the pause menu? I want to say it was. I want to say it was Eat Lead.
It may have been. Eat Lead had a lot of funny trophies too.
But yeah, I got that, and then I started as Call of the Sea and got frustrated. Didn't go back.
What do you mean frustrated? The first part's not hard.
I got frustrated because I was using a guide just to blow through it, and the guide wasn't explaining properly what to do. So I just got frustrated.
I mean, you didn't want to try it, first off for yourself. I mean, if you have to turn to a guide, I mean, that's fine, but you didn't want to just try the game?
I did, and then I found out it was first person, and that was annoying me. So I was like, okay. I'm just going to get through this.
I did want to ask you, what are your thoughts on Thunder Ray? Because I don't know if you have a background in Punch-Out or not, but were you just playing this game just because I played it and you wanted to catch up points to me?
Yes.
Or did you actually? I mean, it's only a $15 game.
You don't have to go.
It is a short.
You don't have
it
to
is
finish.
A short game.
You don't have to finish the ore. Yes, that's why I was playing it, to catch up with you.
All right. Well, you'd be better off playing another game I'm playing to catch up to me. But what were your thoughts on the game?
It seems stupid.
What do you mean stupid? In what way?
The boxing matches aren't challenging.
Are you playing on the lowest difficulty setting?
No, I'm playing on the hardest difficulty setting because you got to beat the what is the show the boss rush, whatever it is. You got to be on brutal difficulty.
Oh, you're playing the PS5 version. I was playing the PS4 version.
Oh, what's the difference? There's different trophies?
Yeah, I mean, the PS5 version has a platinum. The PS4 version does not. The PS4 version, for the trophies, you just pretty much have to go through and beat each boxer, and you get all the trophies. There's nothing that, like, there are a couple trophies for beating 2 boxers with special punches.
I got those.
But other than that, you just have to beat all the boxers, and you get all the trophies. But it's 100%. It's not a platinum. The PS5 adds platinum because it adds those boss rushes, which the PS4 version originally did not have. It does have now.
Why did you not play the PlayStation 5 version then?
Because I wanted to see how hard the game was, because I read online that it was hard. And I don't know if they made the PS5 version easier, but I played through the 4 version on the easy difficulty setting, and it was hard at times, like really hard. So I don't know if they changed difficulty or made it easier, but if you're playing on the hardest difficulty setting, you're some kind of like punch-out savant that I would like to see you play. Because, again, I've beaten, I'm pretty good at Punch-Out, and in this game I was just like, holy shit, I don't think I can do the boss rush mode.
Yeah, it's called the Epic Showdown. Survival Rumble, that's what it's called. You have to beat it on all 3 difficulties. I hope they stack, because if they don't stack. But
I heard they don't stack.
But the platinum is a 2.01 ultra rare, so.
Which shows you how, I mean, like the other ones, the other trophies for the PS4 version are pretty common. I mean, they're common or uncommon. So if that one's ultra rare, I think you're gonna run into some issues there on that last difficulty.
Well, according to PSN profiles, 249 people own the game and only 5 have the platinum.
Which tells you, how difficult. I'd be shocked if you were playing on the hardest difficulty and having an easy time. How many boxers have you gone through?
I did go through, I guess, the story mode and got all the way to Evil Rico, which is the last boss.
No.
No?
There's one beyond Rico.
Okay.
So, amazingly, I was able to go back and check my PS3 trophies, and I have 20 bronze trophies for Deadpool.
Yay.
I'm just saying. I'm surprised it actually has records that old.
But yeah, I plan to get the PlayStation 4 version of it as well. And there was another game I was playing.
Well, before you move on, sorry, Thunder Ray. When you buy one copy, you get both copies. So you can download the PS4 or the PS5 version for the $15 you pay for the game.
I paid $5 for the game.
Is on sale?
Yes.
Oh, I only had to wait like a week or so.
That's why I bought it, because I was like, you know what, it's $5. Yeah, and then I'm going through fatigue with my games because 10 trophies away from Outlaws Platinum, and I'm 1 trophy away from the Astrobot Platinum, and I just have no desire to go back and play those games to get the Platinum. None.
Well, I mean, that happens with a lot of games. It's especially when you binge them and you're focused on them so hardcore for so long. Happens to me all the times. That's why I tend to jump around on a lot of games.
And then the Platinum I got it. The Platinum in was Pac Manga 2. Just to tell you how spammy the game is, I got the Platinum in 2 minutes and 54 seconds. But I actually, but it wasn't just press a button. It was challenging.
Was it press 2 buttons?
It was a challenging 2 minutes.
No, well, okay. So you have to beat the first level, and you have to beat the boss. The boss is pretty difficult if you don't know the pattern to him. Once you know the pattern to him, he's easy. But for a minute and a half, I couldn't figure out how to beat him. But yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Okay. So this week, the first thing I'll talk about is Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. I've been playing that pretty relentlessly. I think I had mentioned it on last week's show. If not, I went through and finished off Link's Awakening, the 2019 remake. And that was done because I wanted to feel accomplished that I beat that before I started up Echoes of Wisdom. For those of you who have no idea what Echoes of Wisdom is, it is a Zelda game, Tricky, because it has traditional dungeons according to your definition. But you play as Zelda in this game, and you use a rod of wisdom, and you basically copycat things that you experience, whether it's a chair, a table, an enemy. You copycat that into your world, and you could use that to solve puzzles. You could, for instance, echo a moblin, and it fights for you. And you use different combos and different, fight your battles for you, essentially, is what you're using those monsters for. But then you also do get like a sword mode, and it's based on an energy bar. And through dungeon exploring and rift exploring, you can gain materials to improve that, whether it's damage, whether it's making your energy bar last longer. But the thing I will say is it kind of takes some of the best parts of Tears of the Kingdom and some of the best parts of Link's Awakening and mashes them together. It's done in the Link's Awakening remake style, so it's kind of like, I don't know. What have you guys seen that? What kind of style would you say that is? It's not claymation.
It's not chibi either.
It's almost like dollish.
You know what I'll say? Peanut style.
Yeah, I was wondering why I was kept going towards that, where it's kind of like you got bigger heads, smaller bodies, but it's all like wood Peanuts style.
And you got like the little male slit like for eyes. Well, I guess vertical slits for eyes like cats.
Yeah. So you use everything that you find in the world to solve puzzles. It gives you mission markers, very much like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where it's that side mission dot or that main mission dot, and it tells you where to go. This is a traditional Hyrule map with the castle in the center and the different regions all over. And the thing that weirded me out about it was Zelda has, powers that you would never think Link would have to begin with. Like, she's lifting rocks and boulders at the start of the game, but as she goes on, she gets more powers. She's followed by this little thing called Try. It's helping her. It powers up as you complete dungeons and close rifts. So the ultimate lesson from this game is that Nintendo learned their lessons from Tears of the Kingdom, as well as Link's Awakening. If you remember, Link's Awakening on the Switch had a lot of heavy slowdowns, and there's a couple different tricks that they use in this game, including they zoom in close to the action as opposed to having a big wide view, which results in saving some of the processing power and frame rate. So it's pretty good. I've been having a blast with it, and getting to play as Zelda is a lot of fun, seeing the story from her side. I've also put more time into the Warhammer universe, and I've done 2 different Warhammers. The Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 for the Emperor is essentially the tagline you keep hearing. And that's a good co-op game. You're fighting hordes upon hordes of enemies. Literally, there's so many on screen at a time, it gets confusing real fast. But I found the mission with my flamethrower, so I'm very happy. And it's for those of you who haven't seen it, it's a 3-person squad game. You can team up with up to 2 of your friends, and there's 6 main missions, and then I think like 6 or so side missions that you get to play, where you go in as a different squad and get to level up your weapons and your characters and play through different missions that way. And there's also a PvP mode. And then also I played Warhammer 40K Darktide. Did any of you guys play Vermintide or Vermintide 2?
No,
Nope.
I did not.
Negative.
Okay. Basically what this is you and some teammates, up to 3 other teammates, fight waves upon waves of enemies. You remember Left 4 Dead back in the day, right?
Never played
Yes,
it.
sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like that. Is you're cutting your way through hordes of enemies, and then every so often there's an elite or a special that comes in to try to ruin your day. And again, it's the 40K universe, so it's not set in the old times, it's set in the way future. And you play a prisoner that was released, question mark, and you have to level up, earn different weapons, level up your weapons, level up your skills. Again, just going in mission after mission to earn bigger and better stuff. It's been out for a while. Originally came out on Game Pass, but it is now back out. It just did this unlocked and loaded update, which added a whole bunch to the game, and it's on sale for $20 on Steam. So my friends and I picked it up, and we're playing through that. And then finally, the only other thing I've been playing is I started another run of Baldur's Gate 3. And why I did that is because my friends and I kind of took a break from the game for a while there. And again, this is a game that you can play with your friends. However, things happen, things get in the way, life happens, and that old save I have is kind of sitting there still. So I started a new single player playthrough, and with that, I'm doing this character. They call it the Dark Urge, which your character, normally when you go through the game, the narrator will say different things about what's going on around you. And what happens with the Dark Urge is basically your character has like all these murderous thoughts, basically intrusive thoughts that you determine whether you let them win or not. Like I came across a child tiefling today at a lake, and we were being led on by a song that we found out were evidently harpies. And in normal playthrough, you know, your character would just look at it and the narrator said, this is curious. What's that song? In this Dark Urge playthrough, your character looks at the kid and goes, drowning is such a simple way to go. And it doesn't take much. Just slice the ankles. And meanwhile, your character's looking at this kid with murderous intent. So the question is as a player, do you give in to those urges or do you resist them, and how's that play through the game? So it's just having a little fun being able to play that type of game by myself, make my own choices, as opposed to playing with friends where your choices impact things that happen to their characters as well.
You know, Matt, I'm curious. You probably know a question I'm going to ask. Are you giving in to the dark urges? Because you know,
yes, I am.
Sometimes it's fun to play as the evil villain. It's fun.
I am. So
do we have like missing posters for that kid up now?
Yes, actually. Not my fault though. Not my fault. I just didn't rescue him and the harpies killed him. There was another character actually.
Hold on. It's not your fault. You just didn't rescue him.
It's not my fault. I didn't rescue the kid.
You're supposed to rescue.
Were you out buying ice cream or what? What were you walking Zelda?
Listen,
who didn't save the kid?
Listen, if a character is chaotic, whether it's lawful, neutral, or evil, you know, they're out for themselves. Whatever happens to others are happening to others. It doesn't matter. Similarly, there was another kid in that same camp.
Black Ass, hi, how you doing? Sorry. Just responding to my chat app. Sorry about that.
Yep. I was going to call that out, but fine. Hey, Black Chaos. I know you said hi to you specifically, Tricky. There was another instance where I came across the leadership of this camp and a child that stole their idol. And the leader had this viper as a familiar. And the viper really wanted to bite the kid. And normally in a playthrough, your character can kind of step in and tone things down. But I kind of let it play out, and that kid's dead too.
So wait, hold on. It doesn't seem so much, Matt, as if you couldn't save these children. You were just looking out for yourself.
Chaotic, yep.
That whole chaotic explanation was just your workaround for saying, yeah, I didn't save that kid.
Yeah.
Fuck that kid.
It sounds like you're judging.
I'm just trying
I'm definitely judging. Yield, are you judging?
No.
I am just trying to get to the bottom of this mystery because Matt is talking about playing as evil, and Matt's a nice guy. Matt doesn't seem like he's evil at all, but he gets to play out that fantasy in a video game, and I'm just wondering if he's taking that route, if he's driving that steam engine.
Saber says Matt's like the Watchers from the Marvel universe.
Oh no, because there's going to be times that I actually intervene, but maybe not in the way that people want.
You're going to tell that snake, no, I get to drown that kid first.
That's basically what's going to happen in many of these cases.
I seem to remember us having a conversation not too long ago about there being a Helldivers mission in which it was save the kids or get a new weapon, and everybody said fuck the kids and got the new weapon.
No.
They
Wells was the name of the planet, and we saved the kids because they remember Arrowhead was like they were so impressed that they made a donation to some.
Oh, that's right. You guys actually did, but you guys came on the show and said fuck those kids.
No.
First of all, no.
I'm the one that said fuck the kids.
The community didn't go for that weapon because it was anti-tank grenades or landmines or something like that, and no one plays with landmines. So again, if it had been a better weapon, those kids would have been in trouble. But no, as a community, they saved them kids.
I'm sorry, I misremembered. But this is cruel. Fuck them kids.
Hey,
they're in a video game.
It's a video game. I want weapons.
Listen, man. All I'm gonna say is, as we go on and I talk about my adventures as the Dark Urge in Baldur's Gate 3, I feel like there's going to be a lot of judging on the other side of that, on the other side of Skype here. So just be prepared.
Well, you know which two of us won't judge you and which one will judge you. Also, I'm going to go ahead and defend Yield and how he feels because, you know what? You may lose some kids on Vernon Wells, but if you have stronger weapons, you can go defeat the automatons and the Terminus faster and save more kids.
Obviously not, because they just bring them all back.
Oh, well, that's the game master's fault for being a prick.
There was actually a TikTok comment where somebody said they fucked up and they could have introduced them at the right time and they didn't.
It was after we knocked the automatons off the map and then they brought the automatons back.
Yeah, well, again, Arrowhead's got a lot that they're trying to make up for right now, and I think the game's back to being in a good place, so maybe we'll see something
Was
soon.
it in a bad place? What happened?
Oh, yeah. No, well, they fucked up all the weapon balancing after the Freedom Flame, obviously. And again, I'm biased, but a lot of people were upset at the nerfing that Fire got throughout the Freedom's Flame patch. So they had to reverse all of that back on September 17th. And then on top of that, there were other weapons that they buffed back up that were nerfed from prior Freedom's Flame. So the game was in a very bad place, and it was only about 20,000 players left. And if you remember how many were in it when it started, 400,000 on Steam, there was a lot to make up for. And finally, the game's back to being in a decent place.
Fair enough.
All right. That will wrap up what we've been playing. So we're going to go over to the news. And again, I want to do it a little bit differently. I don't want to read word for word. I'm just going to kind of go over the titles, and we're going to go over some of our thoughts on this one. And the first news article, and I'm going to go to you first, Tricky, because you mentioned that it was something you were playing and you had some thoughts on it. But this was from Eurogamer, Victoria Kennedy, and it's talking about how Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, this third season came out and debuted to less than 300 players on Steam. So the big thing I'm going to ask is, will Matt's prediction of not making it past season 4 come true? Tricky.
No, your prediction's not going to come true. Because here's the thing. I know I'm going to get hate from a lot of people for what I'm about to say. And I have to tell you right off the start, I don't give a fuck. Because out of the 4 people on this show, I'm literally the only person that's played this game. Out of everybody,
there's probably a reason for that.
See, that's exactly what I mean. Right there. That's the bullshit. And a majority of our audience has not played this game. Everybody is shitting on this game. And there are reasons to shit on this game. Don't get me wrong. It has its flaws. But this gameplay is solid. There's things they do in this game that are very good. Like, one of the things that happens is if I get into a battle and I take down a bunch of enemies and then I'm flying off to go do another thing, if I left loot behind, it automatically gets picked up and thrown into my loot pool.
So here's the question, and Yield and I covered it kind of last week. is Zoe Lawton or Zoe Lawton, however, whoever this character is that they're
Zoe
introducing,
Lawton.
does that mean anything to you as a DC player?
Yes, that's Deadshot's daughter.
Or before you played the DLC.
Yes. Because okay, if you base it off the movies, he talks about how he's got a love for his daughter. And in this game, he signs up to be part of the Suicide Squad for his daughter. That is his motivation for joining the Suicide Squad. In the movies, he talks about his love for his daughter. She is not just a throwaway character. Neither is Mrs. Freeze. They're not throwaway characters. There are reasons behind it. And I'm going to spoil it because nobody else gives a fuck about the game. In this season, you actually save Green Lantern. So they are they are getting the heroes back.
So I'm okay with somebody like Mrs. Freeze because it's based on a well-known, well-liked character archetype, we'll call it. But Zoe Lawton, like, what does she do? Like, I'm just not familiar with the character, so therefore it's like
she's also she's a lesser known character, but she's actually, her character name's called Lawless. And she's a little bit of a tech, and she's very proficient. She's got the skills of her father as far as aim and whatnot. She never misses a shot. All that stuff applies. So, go ahead, Alex.
But can you miss shots in this game?
Yes.
So,
but you're nitpicking now because
the
whole
superpowers.
The whole premise behind Deadshot is that he doesn't miss a shot. The most unpredictable shots he can make, the most complicated shots. That's the premise. Now, obviously, you're user controlled. You can miss shots in this game. I mean, you're nitpicking on that.
That's like taking a superhero and completely negating what makes them that person. It's like saying, okay, you're gonna have Colossus in this game, but you can't turn steel.
So you would find it fun to play the game in an aspect where you can't miss a shot. There's no challenge because all you have to do is aim 90 degrees to the character. Oh no, you got a headshot. Come on, no.
But don't. So then don't use that character. If you can't figure it out, don't have the Suicide Squad be a thing. I don't know, man. Like, but you can't just have a character in there and then their superpower is just not a thing.
But it's not a superpower.
So I'll say this, and again, I want this to be about the article, not the overall issue we've repeated time and time again.
Okay, I'm sorry, Matt. I am covering the article because when I see headlines like this where it debuts to less than 300 Steam players, that pisses me off because it seems like people are shitting on this game, but they're not actually playing the game. I guarantee you, if the three of you actually played this game, if it comes to PlayStation Plus or whatever the case may be, or you get it for free, or you get it on the cheap, or whatever the case may be, I think if you played the game, you would understand where I'm coming from. I think headlines like this, where it's debuting to less than 300 people, and this isn't a shot at Matt or anything like that, but I get tired of these articles where it says it debuts to 300 people on Steam because we don't know how many people are playing on PlayStation. I can tell you, when I matchmake in that game, I have zero issue, and within a minute, I'm with a group of 4 people playing the game. If there's only 300 people on PlayStation, that's not happening.
Okay, I get that. But my issue here is article like this brings it to light that if there's somebody who's on the fence, let's say I was on the fence for playing the game and my main concourse is playing on PC. I look at this and go, why do I want to get into a game that's considered dead on my preferred platform?
I get that as well, but it's again, I don't think people are legitimately giving this game a shot. It has its flaws. I'm not saying this is Game of the Year material in any way, shape, or form. I'm not arguing with that. I'm saying the people that I've played this game with, like Tross played this game with me. Tross will tell you the game's not bad. He just lost interest in it because he has other things he wants to play. He wants to play Yu-Gi-Oh! He wants to play NCAA football. He wants to play The Division. He wants to play Alan Wake. He wants to play other things. If somebody plays the game and they say, I lost interest in it, I'm fine with that. I'm just tired of people shitting on this game that never gave it a shot, that never really looked at it. It's like, it's got to be what like the Concord people are feeling like. Everybody shit on Concord, but everybody that played Concord.
No, it is way too different.
No. Because like Dex is in the chat right now. See, I didn't even look at it. Dex just said it in the chat. Sounds like my Concord argument. So people that played the game have a different experience than people that are seeing the headlines and going, oh, this game must be shit. Oh, it's too this, it's too that. When you actually play the game, then I will listen to your opinion. But until you play the game, I'm not gonna stand for people going, oh, Suicide Squad's a shitty game because you haven't played it.
None of us have said that. No one on the show said that. None of us have commented on this game, the quality of this game.
I'm pretty sure
We just talked about.
Thank you, Matt. I didn't want to call you out, but thank you.
What?
Matt admitted
I said it's a shitty game.
Oh, okay. No. I mean, like he's clearly joking there, but no, we've always commented on what came out in articles. None of us have said that we played this game and it's garbage, or none of us said, well, we don't want to play it because it's garbage. We've not commented on the quality of the game, so like I feel like using that argument against us. When we have only, including articles that you've included yourself, have talked about articles on the show. Next, compared to Concord's ridiculous because, Concord released to under 700 people concurrent on Steam. This game has been out, for 8 months? It came out in February? This is the third DLC pack, so it's not a comparable situation. This is not the first release of the game. The game has been out long enough where you have a situation like Tross, who has played the game, maybe beaten it, and then has moved on and doesn't want to play the DLC. It's not the same situation, so you can't compare it to Concord.
Okay, Saber, you're gonna have to clarify your comment. He said Tricky Ad played it if the shitty game. I think he's saying he played the game and it's a shitty game. Saber, I will take your opinion under. I value your opinion. Because if you play the game, you don't like it, it's a shitty game, I value that. I'm just tired of the people that didn't play it and saying it's a shitty game.
Well, so, again, my issue is the game didn't do anything to attract me to play it. Because it's based off of live service. It's based off of, which, again, I play live service games, but it depends. Especially when it comes to the IP. It's based on an IP I care nothing about, so I'm not going to play it.
Okay, so let me ask you guys a question. I've asked you this on the show before. Yield, I'll start with you because we've been talking and really haven't given you a chance to jump in here. I've asked you guys, if the game came to PlayStation Plus, would you play it? You both have said no. Yield, what is your reason for not wanting to play the game?
It lost me on the state of play.
So even if you got it for free, you wouldn't even consider giving it a shot?
No. I have no desire to fly around, and that's me being a superhero, or the anti-superhero. No, I have no desire to do that. I don't care if you say it's stolen tech or what. No, I have no. I've watched you play it when we've been recording, and I have not been impressed.
Well, okay, Saber backs up. It's not like you can go from one side of the map and just fly completely across the map. You can't do that.
Well, no, but still, you can fly around. These characters don't fly. So, no, you don't jump tall buildings in a single bound. You don't run up to the side of buildings. No, I've watched you play, and you jump from rooftop to rooftop to rooftop. No, you're not Cole McGrath. You're not. You're a villain. No, that's not just, yeah. It lost me. I have no desire. You could give it to me for free. You could download it to my system. It'll sit there and disk rot or download rot.
All right.
It's not getting played.
All right, Alex, same question. If you got it for free, are you just not willing to give it a shot, and why not?
No, I don't want to play it because, as I said before, I don't really like the Suicide Squad.
Okay, that's
I
a
don't,
fair
I
thing.
don't, I. It has nothing to do with the actual game. Although I think that giving everybody guns is pretty stupid. I mean, I will say that about the game. Everyone having guns is really dumb because if I play as a certain character, I want to play as with their specialty. I don't want to play as that character with a gun. So I do have an issue with that as far as the gameplay goes from the cut. But no, I just don't like the Suicide Squad. I don't think they're. I don't think I can take them seriously because, for as having like, the villainous people they have on the team and someone like King Shark, I think they've always been kind of comical characters. Like it's just, or at least they've always been presented as comical characters, and I don't think they should be something like the Suicide Squad trying to kill all these greatest heroes of DC. Ought to be a dark thing. They ought to be maniacal. They ought to be ruthless, and they're not. And I just can't get down with that. And again, like the Batman villains, there are like if you made like a team, like a game featuring the Batman villains, and I realize you can play, they're releasing DLC where you can play as some of these characters, but you like a team with like Clayface and all these guys, that would be awesome. The Suicide Squad, I'm sorry, is just like, I've compared them before like when you're like wallpapering a room and the leftover wallpaper shreds you have on the thing that you're on the floor, you're just gonna throw away later. That's a Suicide Squad.
Right.
That's exactly what that team
see,
is.
See, I respect that in the fact that you don't want to play it because you're not interested in the Suicide Squad, and you just made valid points. You're not choosing not to play it because of the backlash that people see on the internet. That I'm with. Matt, same question. If you got it for free, are you going to try it?
No, same exact thing with Alex. Like I said, I'm a Marvel guy. You give me a Marvel equivalent of this game, I'll play it. DC, I have no vested interest in their characters. I hate the character of Brainiac, at least the way he was done in this game. I don't like the premise of it being a multiversal experience. And I don't like the Joker. I don't like I actually kind of like Mr. Freeze, but you introduce a character like Zoe Lawton, and that, to me, that pushes me even further away.
All right, that's fair as well. I will just read two things from the chat. Saber says, the one time I actually agree with Alex. And Will says...
Oh, there's got to be more than one time. Come on. I'm not that far out of bounds.
And Will says, yeah, the Suicide Squad should let the Harpies eat children.
Absolutely. They're bad guys. They should do that.
All right, I'm off my soapbox.
Harpies got to eat too.
Harpies got to eat too.
I'm off my soapbox. I'm tired of hearing people go, oh, the game sucks. It's only got 300 people. Well, a large part of that is a lot of people aren't even giving this game a shot. If you have a valid reason why you're not giving it a shot, fine. But if you're trying to argue with me that you're not going to give it a shot because the game sucks and you've not played it, I'm not listening to your comments anymore.
And again, I do want to underscore the fact that this is the third DLC release. This is not the game's initial release. The game has been out for going on 8 months now, if not 8 months. And so, yes, you're going to have a drop in the player base. So it's hard to make fun of this on the scale of Concord because it has been out for a while. So.
All right. So moving on to our next article. Speaking of comments that we should be ignoring, are Tim Sweeney's comments surrounding the layoff of 830 employees back in 2023. As a result, over the past year, the basically Tim now says after the layoff occurred, plus the restructuring they've done economically, Epic is now financially sound. Does anybody care?
I'm not leaving a comment on this one.
I will say that they're not, I mean, them being financially sound doesn't help me in any way. I don't play Epic's games. I mean, I guess I technically play Rocket League, but they've never given me a break in Rocket League. They've never, for Black Friday, put the Rocket Bucks or whatever on discount or anything like that. There's never been any like discounts on goal scores, so I could give two shits about Epic and what they're doing. Kind of seems like they're a shittily run company, or at least run by greedy motherfuckers. So,
You said you weren't of any particular interest either?
No.
Yeah, so, going from one shittily run company to another, the next two stories, both coming from Games Radar and Dustin Bailey, basically cover whatever the fuck is happening over at Ubisoft. So the first part is that Ubisoft is now going through and patching Star Wars Outlaws. The latest patch came through and had patches to, or improvements to the stealth mechanics, some of the NPC placement, as well as, the thing that annoyed me, and Tricky, you could speak to this aspect, is whenever you call your speeder and it comes barreling through at you and then you're trying to find the right position to jump on it, evidently they fixed that.
Thank God. That was annoying as hell.
How many times did I get run over by my own speeder calling?
How many times did I call my speeder and it went flying off a cliff?
So it sounds like they made some improvements. So Yield, you said you haven't picked up the game yet, right?
Well, I have the game. I haven't started it yet. I was waiting for the safe patch, which I know is done now. Now I'm trying to finish up some other games before I dive into it.
And Alex, I assume you haven't played it at all, right?
No, I haven't played the last few Star Wars games, and I don't know. I'm so unenamored with Star Wars at this point that I just can't see myself playing it, regardless of how good it is. I mean, it's nothing about the gameplay. It's nothing about the game. It's just simply the fact that even though I did enjoy Fallen Order, it wasn't so good that I'm like, oh man, I got to play the next Star Wars game. It's kind of like, yeah, this game was fine. I did take issue with the fact that it didn't always feel like a Star Wars game. But, I mean, in the end, it was a really good game. I can't Star Wars anymore. I just can't. Or at least it's going to take some time. I can't even watch the shows. I'm not the right person for that marketing push.
Like I said, I've enjoyed the game. From what I played, my Ubisoft Plus ran out, and I'm gonna pick it up at some point, especially now that it has cross save. But the end result being was it was a lot to take in, and as the patch hinted at, that there were issues with the way that the game was playing. So hopefully by the time I pick it up again, some more patches will come through and they'll continue improving on it. To Tricky's point earlier, it was not as bad as everybody said. There's players out there being pissed off that Kay Vess isn't a supermodel and oh, I wouldn't fuck her. Well, you're not supposed to. She's a Star Wars character. So maybe back off a little bit.
And I've heard criticism, people going, oh, well, everything she does is for money. I'm like, yeah. That's the premise behind her character.
Was that not obvious when the Rebel Alliance asked her to join? She's like, how much you pay?
Right.
Yeah, that should tell you what her thoughts are.
There are some gripes in the game. I will say that I have fully finished the game. And as I said earlier in the show, it's I just got to go back and get some miscellaneous trophies. I think there are only 2 trophies that are not collectible based, which got me a little worried because they involve flying the ship, and as I've said many times on the show before, it's when you're doing something in the game and then all of a sudden you have to do a different mechanic, like you're running around the world in stealth mode or in combat mode, and all of a sudden now you have to do flight controls and flight mechanics. That kind of annoys me. It didn't so much in this game, but in order to get the trophy, it does seem very luck-based. Also, there's a trophy in the game for getting a high score in one of the arcade games. The arcade games in this game are horrible. I've tried every single one of them. I can't even get close to getting a high score. So this platinum might not be in my future.
Well, it's a pretty massive game, all things considered. But what's not massive is, again, from the same location or site and art. Why am I fucking up my words tonight? From the same site and author.
Hosting ain't easy, is it?
No, tonight's a weird night. The Ubisoft stock is dropping. So it's dropped about, what is it? They said adds to 54% Ubisoft stock drop. So the end result is go buy your Ubisoft stock, because it's going to be a while before it gets back up. And that there's talking about Tencent and the Guillemot brothers are reportedly considering a full buyout. I think with all of the decisions Ubisoft made recently and all the issues they've been facing, there might be a Ubisoft buyout in the future. Does anybody care to comment on that?
I'm going to choose my words very, very carefully here. Ubisoft is one of my favorite developers. I mean, I play a lot of their games.
Kiss ass. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Threw me off for a second for the chat. I play a lot of their games, whether it's Uno, Assassin's Creed, The Division, Immortals Phoenix Rising. I play a lot of Ubisoft games. Prince of Persia. They make a lot of quality games. I don't understand the hate for Outlaws lately because it's not a bad game. I think with the improvements, it is possibly a Game of the Year contender. That's how good of a game it is. They're getting a lot of hate for Assassin's Creed Shadows and whatnot, and a lot of people are hating on that. Me and Matt were talking
specifically the delay because they pushed it until next year, right? So
well,
that's what's hurt them is the delay in the game's release.
Well, they were getting a lot of hate before that too.
Yeah, but I would say that the stock hit has been because they have pushed the game into another window and into I think February of 2025.
The stock was down before they delayed it.
But that's added to it.
Oh yeah, definitely added to it. There's no doubt to that. But me and Matt were talking before the show, and it came down to a lot of people were criticizing it because it's got a African American lead and it's got a female lead, and there a lot of people are saying Sweet Baby Inc. is getting involved and all this other shit, and I none of that shit should be a focus point of a game. And I got called out because they're like, do you want to play games with female leads? I'm like, I don't give a shit. I said some of my favorite games, The Last of Us is one of his favorite games. The Last of Us, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Tomb Raider. I'm playing Star Wars Outlaws with a female lead. Like, female leads don't matter to me. Whoever the character that the development team wants to make, that's the character I'm going to play with. I'm not going to choose to play. I'm not going to not choose to play a game because it has a female lead, and I think people are getting a little pissy. I mean, Matt, you were talking about the newest Ghost game. Everybody's criticizing, saying that Sucker Punch is going woke because they got a female lead and they're not continuing Jin's story. Fucking, you don't know anything about the story yet. Stop. You know nothing about the game. Literally, I told Matt this before the show. If you watch the trailer for the new Ghost game, and I'm saying new Ghost game because I'm not quite sure how to say the city or the town or the country. I know it's Yodi, but I've heard it said different ways. Anyway,
Yote.
Legit, when I watched that trailer, I thought they killed Jin in the first 5 seconds of that trailer.
No, this takes place 300 years after Ghost of Tsushima.
See, I didn't pick up on that in the trailer. I know they put the year out there.
I didn't either. Matt had to let me know.
Right, but if you watch that trailer, I thought she killed Jin right off the start. Like, I was like, whoa, where are they going with this? And, I found out. But I'm going to go back and fill this up. I'm tired of people going, oh, Ubisoft is failing because of this. Ubisoft's failing because of that. Shit happens with video games. And now they're talking about the Guillemot brothers are thinking about buying Ubisoft outright and taking the company private. I think that's smart. Stop letting you'll get rid of the whole the investors are tanking this game or whatever the case may be. Take it private. Ubisoft has a lineup of games that they could be highly successful with. And that's my soapbox. Yield, I'll throw it to you.
Okay, what was the question? Because you were on this soapbox for a while.
what do you think about the potential for Ubisoft being sold?
I mean, if they go private, it's probably good because then they only answer to themselves instead of answering to a corporation. I still like a lot of the games that they're bringing out. So at least in that aspect, they're hitting that mark. People getting mad because the games got delayed. Not really for sure why they're getting mad because, I mean, for years, at least here on the show, if you're delaying it to make it better or you at least strive to make it better, then I mean, you're going to be annoyed that your game that you want to play isn't out yet. But if you're making it better, then everybody's been okay. And now all of a sudden, it's people are mad by it. I don't know. I don't get this younger generation of gamers of why they are
damn kids on our lawns.
Right? I don't get it, and I'm not going to try to understand them. So. Ubisoft's making games that I like, and I keep buying them. So, unless they are like a really crappily owned company, I'm still going to support them.
So, Yield, let me ask you, why do you think the stock is dropping? Because, like me and you, Ubisoft is making games that we enjoy. Why do you think that people are giving Ubisoft so much shit? I don't know. That's kind of what I'm confused about is why is there hate? What's going on? What are they? I haven't heard anything other than everybody's hating on them. Okay, well, why are you hating on them? There's got to be a good reason other than are they now the new EA? I don't get it.
So, real quick, catching up on chat. Saber made a comment about wasting $850 million on Skull and Bones, and again, Game of the Year discussion. He thinks it's going to be Astrobot or Black Myth, and then Will came in here and talked about female leads don't matter to me. Quoted Tricky Mick. Otaku Man 5000 came in here and confirmed Yote. And then Saber comes back in and asks, when was there a last real Prince of Persia, not the arcade game that came out that was fun, or a real Splinter Cell? I agree. Everybody's been kind of saying we need a new Splinter Cell back again. Alex, you on that train? Do you want a new Splinter Cell? You think that'll help Ubi?
Aren't they making a new Splinter Cell game?
Rumor.
I mean, the fans want it. Yeah, sure. I'm not going to play it. I've never played a Splinter Cell game, but I mean, it's got to be better than what they've been doing. I personally don't know enough about stocks to understand why their stock has been tanking. I don't think they've been doing anything worse than they have in the last 2 to 3 years. And we've talked about it for a while now, just being very over or just in general. I know that Yield and Tricky still, buy a lot of Ubisoft games, but the insistence upon Assassin's Creed after Assassin's Creed, just in general, their entire portfolio being built on a lot of the same, a lot of sequels, a lot of boring stuff. There's not really a lot of new exciting things coming out except for Immortals Phoenix Rising, which they then canceled the sequel. So Ubisoft's strategy hasn't really changed a ton, and I don't know why they hit the wall here with Outlaws. Not really sure. I'm wondering, because really it started to take a downturn after the release of Outlaws. So I would be interested to hear someone who actually understands that explain it. But I mean, they gotta mix it up. They gotta try something different. So, I mean, stick to your guns with Assassin's Creed Shadows. I mean, if you make the best game you can. I mean, who knows? Again, the delay really hurt their stocks, but it's the delay. It's not the game's release. So who knows? Maybe when the game comes out, it'll be received a lot more warmly. But yeah, there's just been a lot of malaise around Ubisoft for a while now. I mean, there's only so many times you can play a Just Dance game where you just stop caring. I mean, so they're going to get money from Tricky. They're going to get money from Yield. They're not doing anything to grab me. And I would say, I mean, Matt can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but not really anything to grab Matt either. Like, Matt, are you playing any Ubisoft games recently?
Well, no. I mean, I played Outlaws, and I had a good time playing it, but I just don't feel like paying a full $70 for the game, so I'm going to wait for it on sale. If that means that I'm not supporting the dev, oh well.
Okay.
That tells you what I feel my worth of the game is.
Okay, Matt, and I'm not calling you out with this, but do you think that's part of the problem? Is that there are people that went and bought an Ubi Pass, played the game for a month, and said, "Okay, I'm not." And the fact that they're not spending the $70 on the game is what's hurting their stock price, essentially.
I absolutely think that is a thing, which is an interesting concept to bring in because they offer it as day one on Ubisoft Plus, and I decided to pay the $18. Now, that means I have to now wait for enough of a sale that I get my value out of it, because even if I go out there and I buy the game for $50, I'll still have spent technically the $70 to get the game. So now, again, that tells you what my worth of it is. Now, the $18 got me more than just playing Outlaws, but I didn't play anything else on Ubisoft that month because none of their other games recently have interested me. I played The Division. I liked it. I've tried so many different Assassin's Creed. Did not like them in the end. I've done Far Cry. I've done Far Cry 3, 4, 5, New Dawn, and 6. I gave up on 6. It was just not the right setting or gameplay that I enjoyed. So, sorry, Ubi. You had a good formula and then you drove it into the ground. At least that's my opinion of the entire thing. But I guess the biggest question is, if they came out tomorrow and said Beyond Good and Evil 2 releases in 3 months, do you think that would save Ubisoft?
No, I think people would still shit on it.
Of course they would. All right. Real quick, the next article we just talked about is that Horizon Zero Dawn and everything that's come out with it recently. So as many heard at the State of Play, you can upgrade your PS4 versions or your not remaster, but your PC versions for $10 to get the remastered version that comes out later this month. However, this comes with the requirement of a PSN account. Yes, we're going back to that well, because this is a single player game, and more so, they have removed the old versions of Horizon Zero Dawn off of the marketplace, meaning you can only get the remastered version now. And what that means is the 170 plus countries that can't have a PSN account are now locked out of this game. So that brings us back to the question about, does Sony really hate money? Because otherwise, by taking away that requirement, they could sell this game in 170 plus markets. Yield?
I mean, what's the point of selling on PC if you're going to limit your market base or your market?
And this is also coming out with the Until Dawn remake or remaster or whatever just came out. So that's an issue. Alex?
I don't think it's that they hate money. I think it's that they're willing to miss out on sales in those certain regions because they realize how big of a chunk of money is made up in the regions they still sell in. And correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Microsoft do this? I mean, we heard Yield's spiel about them making him make a Microsoft account to play Sea of Thieves. So this is something both Microsoft and Sony are doing, correct?
Yeah, but I think, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I don't think there's as many restrictions on where you can make a Microsoft account versus a Sony account. But
fair enough. And I don't want to be
speculation.
Okay. And I don't want to be like, oh, well, Microsoft does it, so it's okay for Sony to do it. No, I mean, it's not okay for anyone to do it. Just if you're going to take your game multi-platform, if you're going to put it on PC or whatever, if you're going to put it on PlayStation, if you're Microsoft, just don't make people make an account. Just sell them the game. They're buying the game. You're getting the money. You're getting a cut of the money. And so just be fine with that. I think overcomplicating things with extra accounts, we already have a Sony account for our PlayStation console. And then, you've got to make another account just to play this one game or to play any games from Xbox. All you're going to do is drive people away from playing your games. So break down the walls. Don't make people make a Sony account and just let them play the game.
You know that meme of everybody looking at Bart when he has his tagline and it says, say the line? I'm looking at Yield. Yield, say the line.
It shouldn't be this hard to play video games.
Proud cheers. Tricky?
Okay, so I have a question because I didn't read the article. So I'm going to ask you, Matt, because you did read the article. This is a plot. So Horizon was released 2 ways on the PC. You had the original game, and then you had the complete edition that included the DLC. Did they remove both of those from the PC market, or is it just
checking now?
Because I just Googled it. I didn't think you could upgrade the PC version of the game for the $10. I thought that was only on the PlayStation consoles, but apparently the PC. But I think this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I currently see the complete edition for $50 and the remastered version for $50. Which one's the complete? Yeah,
okay.
It's part of the remastered bundle.
Okay, so what I just Googled, can you upgrade Horizon Zero Dawn on PC? And it says if you don't have Horizon, the remaster is going to cost you $50. So I don't understand this move because, and I don't want to sound like a Sony apologist here, but when I saw this article, a lot of people were going, they took away the game from people that owned the game before, and that's not true.
Not true.
All they did was remove it from being sold any further. If you already own the game, you can still play the game. The PSN requirement is not for people that purchased the game before. That being said, I think it's shitty that if you already own the game, they're removing your access to play the remastered version of it entirely.
Removing your access to be able to
upgrade it. Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. In the end, it's just hurting their sales and maybe a little goodwill. Like that's the thing. Sony needs some goodwill recently, and unfortunately, Xbox fucking up this generation of, their console and competition. It's kind of given Sony a wide lead to really make some poor choices.
So I'll ask this question, and Yield, I'll go to you first for an answer. Because I feel like me, Alex, and Matt are kind of dominating this and not really letting you get a chance to speak here. Why do you think that Sony is pushing this issue of you have to have a PSN account for your PC games? Like, why do you think Sony's making that decision?
That's a good question for Sony. It makes no sense. I mean, they could. It feels like I've said it before. It feels like Sony's going back to their early PS3 days, where you'll go get a second job to buy our console. It kind of feels like they're doing that they're so big for their britches that you'll just do this to play our games because we're Sony. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it has to do with modding or hacking or what. I have no idea, and it's dumb at this day and age. It's just dumb.
All right, Alex, I'll pose the same question to you. So I'm sorry, Matt. I know you're the host. I'm just the host of me's coming out.
Obviously, I guess the more connected you are to Sony, maybe they feel like a PlayStation account is a foot in the door for somebody who's necessarily, plays on PC or something like that. Maybe they see it subliminally as, oh, I have a Sony account, so it's kind of my window into PlayStation. I don't really know. There has to be a reason they're doing it, because after what happened with Helldivers 2, if you're not at Sony and there's not at least some benefit to you making people sign up for these accounts, you'd be crazy to attach this again. Like, it's got such bad will, and it left such a bad taste in everyone's mouth. To do it again for all these single player games is just kind of ludicrous. But there's got to be a reason that they're doing it. I just can't see what that is, other than they want people some way or shape or form to have a PlayStation account, because maybe they think that is just the gateway drug. Maybe get them a PlayStation account, maybe they play a game, and then it's like, oh yeah, PlayStation, this is all right. Time to go play go buy a Portal or a 6 or something. I don't know. I got no idea, but that's the only thing I can think of. It's the entryway into their larger world. Live in your world, play in ours, right? That was their old motto.
All right, Matt, I'm going to ask you the same question, but I also want to ask you a separate question because you probably know the answer to this. What's stopping somebody from using a VPN or making a PSN account from a different country? Because, truth be told, I have 4 Tricky Mick accounts in 4 different regions. I mean, I could go. Can somebody on PC just make an account and say they live in the United States?
They can, Tricky, but that would be against the terms of service Sony has made. So in this theoretical situation where you have accounts in other countries, that would be against Sony's terms of service.
Did Tricky just admit to something he shouldn't have?
Well, I didn't hear it. I just heard a very long beep.
So the answer is yes. The answer is very much yes.
I mean, honestly, when I in this hypothetical situation made those accounts, I didn't know that was against Sony's terms
because
of
you
service.
didn't read the user licensing agreement.
Who the hell reads the fine print?
The licensing agreement. You clicked I agree, and that is that. It magically beams all that data into your brain.
Hey, Matt, what if... and I've heard that those EULAs don't hold up in court because of things like I've heard judgments where the judge is like, you cannot expect people to read these. But let's just say, what if Tricky did go against that, and then one day he woke up and all of his trophies were gone? Like, what would that do to Tricky as a man? Do you think
we would have to rename Trophy Wars? Anyways, you bring up a good point, Tricky, and the problem is yes, PC players can and absolutely have done that, but as I mentioned, it is bannable by Sony. So if let's say you forget one day to turn on your VPN when you're making a purchase for something elsewhere, suddenly it flags in their system and they realize you've been doing it from IP addresses halfway across the world. They can terminate your account and therefore all your purchases and things with it.
But there's no different. Like if I was to move to Japan tomorrow,
you can legitimately move your account location.
So,
you can go in your system and change your home location.
But I'm saying if I move to Japan tomorrow and just never update my PSN account with my address and new address and all that other shit, or I go on vacation to England and I'm using my PlayStation 5 at Sid's house.
Don't do that.
You're telling me that's against service too?
Well, I don't know. I haven't read the user license agreement.
Will says, "Be careful, I'll be deported inside of a week." Probably.
That's because they don't want us there.
I do just want to say, just as a word of advice to Sony, if Sony's listening, there's got to be one of you out there.
Good old Jimmy Ryan's listening.
Well, he can't do shit now. He got fired. I mean, he retired. But the cost of a game these days is enough of a barrier to entry to people to playing it, So don't make things harder on people. If they're willing to spend the money on your game, let them. That's the only advice I got for them. Herman, you are a smart man. Mr. Herman Holst, sir, CEO, one of 2 CEOs for Sony. You're a smart man. Do the right thing.
All right, and
well, I don't know how smart he was because he was the driving force behind Concord. So,
oh well, if you believe that.
To keep this moving along, here's what we're going to do, and we, again, taking everybody's feedback and things that we've said, I'm changing it up a little bit this week. So we're moving on to our final topic. I'm not calling this the topic of the week. We're just going on with our news topics, and this one is about the PS5 Pro 30th Anniversary Edition pre-orders being restricted to PSN accounts with at least 30 hours of runtime in Japan. Coming from Wesley Yinpool, good job, Sony, doing something Valve thought of years ago, but only in Japan, WTF. So basically what this is saying, when they put up the PS5 Pro Anniversary Edition in Japan, only accounts with at least 30 hours of runtime between February of this year and September 19th of this year were eligible to buy the console. So the biggest question I have is, why didn't they do that in the first place for everywhere else? Basically, you all saw the news articles that the scalpers got these within seconds. Other people couldn't get them at all. So, Yield, any insight here?
Well, I mean, I guess you'd have to put in your PSN sign-in so they could register you. But it sounds like a really good idea. So that way the scalpers can't get them all. And why didn't they try it everywhere? Your guess is as good as mine.
You know, and I mentioned this. Valve did it where when they brought out the Steam Deck and they weren't telling you when it was going on sale. And then the day before they told you, maybe not the day before, but a couple days before that it went on sale, they broke the news, said, oh, by the way, only Steam accounts that are older than 2 weeks old would be able to reserve a Steam Deck, which gave all of the people that already had Steam accounts the access to put down their $5 to reserve the system first. And that was done in a queue. So I could put my $5 down and I got the console when I got the console, whatever line I was in. And that's still something current console manufacturers refuse to do. So, Alex, your thoughts on this and compare it to what Valve did?
Well, I don't know exactly what Valve did. Are you just saying that they restricted it to a certain number of people? Like, you have to meet these requirements before you could purchase one? Is that what Valve did?
Yeah, and they didn't break that to everybody until it was beyond that time period of being able to do it. So, like, if this would be like them, like Sony telling people, hey, you have to have 30 hours runtime in a PlayStation account to be able to buy this system. By the way, the console goes on sale within 24 hours.
I mean, it could be just a tester. They're trying it in one market to see how well it works, and maybe in the future, because obviously this is not the last console Sony's going to sell, maybe in the future they open it up to every region, or at least, you know, the PAL regions or the EU, the US, the biggest markets. Maybe this is just kind of a test to see how well it goes. So you're never going to kill the scalper market. It always is going to exist because they're trying to they'll find ways to make money regardless. But really, as long as Sony is selling its consoles, I mean, yeah, people may be frustrated with scalpers buying them all up and then selling them for exorbitant prices on, you know, different marketplaces. But in the end, and Matt, I'll throw this question to you first. Does it really matter to Sony who buys them in the end, as long as they sell them all?
Yes and no. And, you know, going to chat real quick, Will said North America was a guinea pig. Japan is employing lessons learned. And then they should have made it available only to people who had an account since the PS3. I'll tell you this. As I'm getting older...
I don't agree with that, Will. Sorry.
Many gamers are getting older. And yes, the gaming community keeps replenishing. But I'm also finding different priorities in my life. Whereas back in 2013, I made sure that I got both an Xbox and a PlayStation 4 on the same day, on launch day. PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series, I made sure that I got the system I wanted first. Next system, maybe I'm not getting it because I'm not willing to put up with the shenanigans of trying to order it. But you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter who Walmart or Best Buy or GameStop or Sony sell to. They just want to sell. The only problem is if they're not implementing some measure, you're just pissing off your consumer base. But in the end, people are going to buy what they buy.
But is that enough? Is people getting pissed off at scalpers enough to get them to stop buying PlayStations or not try to buy these? Because isn't the problem... I mean, yes, Sony can implement measures as we see here, but isn't the problem the scalpers themselves, and that's just the way it goes? Do people not just be like, all those damn scalpers, or do they be like...
The fact of the matter is the scalpers only succeed because people are willing to pay that price.
Yep.
That's 100%. If people did not spend thousands of dollars on consoles, especially with the launch of the original PS5, if people did not spend that money, those scalpers would not be successful. It's the same thing like with this port strike. People went out and bought a shitload of fucking toilet paper because they thought the port strike was going to go on for on and on and on. Now there are people that are stuck with hundreds and hundreds of rolls of toilet paper.
You want to know what's funny about that?
What's funny about that, Yield?
Toilet paper's made in the U.S.
Well, I know that. But the fact of the matter is, if people didn't pay these prices, these scalpers wouldn't have a market. it's 100% accurate. I mean, listen, I just Googled it because I didn't know the exact number. Sony only made 12,300 copies of the 30th anniversary bundle. One, let's just call a spade a spade. Sony making that few of consoles is part of the problem. You got people out there that are spending that would want this. I mean, let's just for argument's sake here, okay? Let's say the four of us are all crazy enough to buy multiple consoles, and we have the money to do it. All of us would want this 30th anniversary bundle because it's a collector's item. We're all Sony heads, however you want to define us. The chances of one of us, getting one of these consoles is so astronomical. It's almost impossible. I think what they sold, 90 million PlayStation 4s? And they did a limited 500 million special edition PlayStation 4, and they sold a limited quality of them. If you're going to make a special console, you need to make a shitload more units, because 12,300 units, I don't know the production, but I would assume that took them a day to make all those consoles.
Maybe. And maybe not even a day, because it was just slapping extra skins, so to speak, the panels on them.
Right. And let's be real here. For the PlayStation 5, all they did was add side plates to them. They didn't change the PlayStation 5. It's not a better PS5. They just slapped side plates on them. So, I mean, let's be real here for a second. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So Will in chat says he blames Daryl, but that the number of consoles was symbolic as it references the date of the PS1's release, which is cute, but ultimately useless. Like it's this system was made for two people, collectors and scalpers. That's really who it was made for, because anybody who legitimately wanted to get it and was spending $1,000 on it is crazy from the aspect of, I could just go buy a regular one and get custom plates on it.
Okay, hold on. I do want to make one question. The $1,000 was a bundle where you get the console, a DualSense Edge, a DualSense, the charging station, and stuff like that. They did sell them for the $700.
Noted. Well, so there's that. Anybody who didn't get to speak on this or want to circle back? All righty. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're doing things a little differently. We are going to end our show with listener questions.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
That's getting a little gun shy there.
No, it's just
I was muted.
Changing things up on him. He was muted.
I was muted, so I didn't unmute, so you guys didn't hear it.
All right, so I'm sure it'll come through fine on the playback. So all of our questions tonight are thanks to Thomas, who wrote in a number of them. And Thomas, I'm going to ask the question I asked you in there was, what games do you think have benefited the most from being in a black and white atmosphere? And I'm asking, do you mean by a color palette? Like, what happens when you go into ghost mode in Ghost of Tsushima? So while you answer that, I'm going to go on to the next question. So he says color palette. So any of you have an answer first and foremost?
Repeat the question just so I understand it.
Do you think what game do you think has benefited the most from being in a black and white color palette? Because I have one if you guys need a second.
I can't even think of one game that was in the black and white palette.
Okay.
Saboteur.
Okay.
For me, the game is not out yet, but it's a game that I'm interested in that they actually they came to light, I guess, this year. I talked about it on the show, but it's Mouse PI for Hire. That Doom style Cuphead-like shooter that's in black and white coming out. I don't know when. They haven't named a release date, but I think that's the game because of the era that it was kind of stylized after. So that's the game I would say.
Okay. And I'm sorry, Tricky. Did you have one?
Well, I can't answer this question only because I don't think I've ever revealed this on the show, but I'm actually colorblind.
Oh, you have had to have said that before on this show.
So a lot of things to me, even if it was black and white, I didn't know they were black and white. That's why I made the comment saying I can't really pick a game that's black and white because to me they've always been in color.
Okay. So I will say, and I'm going to cheat here a little bit, is say Mad World on the Wii. And the reason why that's a cheat is because the game was predominantly in black and white, but blood was colored red.
The blood.
But I think that game benefited very, very well from that contrast. In chat, Will said Limbo, Black Chaos said Max Payne, and I know there were certain parts of Max Payne that had that black and white aesthetic, which was really nice. And then
the dream sequences.
Yes, and it was really neat. I love those games. And then Saber says Limbo is still creepy after all these years.
I think
was Inside black and white, or would Inside have more color to it? Because it was made by Playdead as well.
I think it was grayscale more than anything.
Okay.
There is a game that I think was in black and white. I probably get corrected. You guys ever hear the game Escape Plan? Originally,
yeah, it was originally for the Vita before
Right.
Sony decided to port all those games over to the 4.
Right, was that in black and white?
Something, yeah, I might lean more towards the grayscale, like Matt was saying, but yes, pretty
Okay.
sure it was.
All right,
What about, you guys remember Echo Chrome?
You stole the words right out of my mouth.
I've heard of it. I don't think I've played it.
It was on the PSP, but it was like the puzzle game where you had like the stick figure guy, and you were trying to navigate, I guess.
It was Fez before Fez.
Yeah.
All right, so
That was
just so I
that
didn't
was
cop
black
out
and
an answer, I'm going to say Escape Plan.
Okay. All right. Next question. Does it feel like this year's release for games that are coming out for Christmas are kind of meh? I would answer the question. I honestly can't think of any games coming out over the next 2 months.
That's what I was getting ready to say, Matt. Well, what's coming out over the next 2 months? So to answer the question, yes, they are kind of meh because I really don't know what's coming out.
Well, if it's not meh, they've done a poor job of advertising, I'll say that much. Because, I mean, we've already got our Zelda game out. Sony's biggest shot was probably Astrobot, and they've already released that.
I'm doing a quick Google search just to see.
To the internet.
I'm just Googled it real quick. Game Rank came up. Games in December 2024. Hitman.
I think you're going to get Lego Horizon by the end of the year.
Hitman, World of Assassination, Fitness Boxing 3, Fantasia and Neo Dimension, Skydances, Behemoth, Marvel Rivals, Indiana Jones, Monument Valley, and Legacy of Kain. That's in December. Let's see what's coming out in November. November's got Towers of Azkaban, Planet Coaster 2, Mario and Luigi Brothership, Metro Awakening, Slitherhead, Dragon Quest 3, Lego Horizon Adventures, Path of Exile 2, Microsoft Flight Simulator, My Sims Cozy Bundle, Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, Genshin Impact is coming to the Xbox, Star Wars Outlaws is coming to the Steam, Football Manager 25, and Nine Souls. Those are the games out in November and December, according to
So it sounds
Game
like Xbox has, well, I mean, they got the Flight Sim, so that'll help them. It sounds like Nintendo's got more of a better lineup than anybody, and Sony has her Lego Horizon.
I mean, so here's the next thing is Silent Hill 2 comes out in 2 days, and that's going to be pretty good. It's already getting rave reviews. Slitterhead, I'm interested in. Lego Horizon Adventures, I'm going to grab. And, Will says no one wants to advertise because the general public and media will decide the fate of the game before anyone ever plays it. Accurate. Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2 remastered, I'm interested in. But yeah, I think we got most of what we got out of this year. And I'll say it again, 2023 hit so freaking hard. I think anything after it kind of was
not going to be living up to it.
Oh, not so fast here, Matt, because we may have one Dark Horse game here for 2024. Now, it's just, there's no date, it's just 2024, but you forget about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Revenge.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Now, I could easily see that being pushed to 2025 because, again, they just have on Steam 2024, but it could be a holiday game. But you also figure we're October 6th now. We've got 2.5 months left in the year.
I think they would have announced it by now.
You would hope so, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed because other than that, I don't really care about much this year.
Okay. Anything else before we move on to the next question?
I'm just looking to see if there's anything else.
You didn't even look at November, Tricky. You looked at December. You didn't look at November.
I did look at November.
No. I heard you say December.
I'm looking at October now. You guys want the October list real quick?
What the hey? We're here.
Batman Arkham Shadow, Predator Hunting Ground, Throne and Liberty, Until Dawn, which is out, NHL 25, which is out, SpongeBob SquarePants, the Patrick Star game, that's all out, and now coming out in the next couple of weeks, Silent Hill 2, Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred, Metaphor, Re Phantasmo, Dragon Ball Spark and Zero, New World, Darksiders 2, Definitive Edition for the 5, Neva, A Quiet Place, A Road Ahead, Unknown 9, Awakening, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants Unleashed, No Room in Hell 2, Fae Farm, Fear the Spotlight, Terminator Survivors, Windblown, Romance and Saga 2, Revenge of the Seven, Yakuza Kiwami, YSX, Nordies, Sonic vs. Shadow Generations, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket, that's coming out for mobile, Blasphemous 2, Dragon Age the Veilguard, and Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered.
So I'll say the Super Mario Party Jamboree is definitely one I'm going to pick up because Mario Party is always a good game.
You'd be both, Matt.
Play some online, get some online parties going.
Hey, we definitely could.
You know, as I said, Silent Hill 2 I'll be grabbing at some point. But, you know, all in all, I still think there's some good games, but I don't think any of them are necessarily heavy hitters. I think some people are hoping Dragon Age Veilguard is going to be the heavy hitter in this year, but I don't see much else.
Late game of the year contender, you think?
I don't know. Dragon Age, possibly.
I'm kind of interested in the Turtles game. I heard it's pretty good.
Because that's the one that came out on Switch, and then it's coming out on the other platforms, right?
Yeah, and it's I kind of want to grab that, but I was waiting for PC release so that way I can get it on my Steam Deck. Because Ninja Turtles roguelite, count me in.
And let's remember, because Yield mentioned Lego Horizons before, that is also coming out on the Switch. So someone who has a Nintendo console can play a Sony-owned game.
Oh yeah. All right, Thomas, we're going to skip your question about Joker 2 and movies. We've left early because that is, don't feel like trashing on Joker 2 any more than I have privately this week. Usually having DLC is a good thing. What game actually hurt itself by having DLC? I saw this question earlier and I was trying to come up with some. And the closest thing I could think of immediately that comes off the top of my head was Borderlands. Most of those DLCs were good, but you think like Mad Moxie's Thunderdome DLC, that was just wave-based shooting, and that was not good at all. And I think it hurt the overall experience.
They've done the same thing every game.
Yeah.
It's not like they change it up. You have like one story DLC, and then the next one is a Moxie's was called like, I think, no, I don't know, it wasn't called the Thunderdome, but yeah, you've got a fight the waves of enemies, and then the third one is just kind of a meh.
Yeah.
The most recent one that I've done, Immortals Phoenix Rising.
You didn't like that DLC?
Every DLC got worse, in my opinion. The first one was The first one was okay, and then the second one was, I liked the story, but I didn't necessarily like how the gameplay was, and then the third one was a totally different gameplay, and I just kind of made myself play through it. So they could have stopped after the first one.
Al, tricky.
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute myself so I don't know you guys. I want to say, and I know this is going to be a little blasphemous coming from me, Uncharted and The Last of Us. I always say that because I'm sorry, you're about to say something?
No, I was going to say no. I agree, because all of their DLC has been, well, I can't really speak for The Last of Us, but Uncharted, it was all cosmetics. It was nothing.
Well, there was a multiplayer mode, I think, in, was it
Three
was the co-op, right?
3 had a story-ish co-op one, yes, where you did like 5 chapters, and then they mucked it up in 4. No, was it 2? 2 had the co-op. 3, they mucked it up.
And
they had a good thing and they messed it up.
And I only say those games because it goes back to my old argument that single player games should not tack on multiplayer DLC. If that makes sense.
I mean, I think that makes enough sense. We get what you're saying. I'm
actually glad. See, okay, I'm actually glad God of War 2018 didn't have any DLC, but the DLC for Ragnarok I thought was absolutely fantastic. I think they.
Yeah, as someone who played Valhalla, I do concur.
So, I would say, just a generalized answer, if I'm not picking any particular game, I would say my answer would be any DLC that was added, any multiplayer DLC that was added to a single-player only game, just to increase some kind of profit.
Okay. Alex?
So I have a hard time thinking of a game that was hurt by its DLC. Maybe if I went through my list on PlayStation Network, I could figure something out, but really, the first game that came to mind was, and it's not a bad DLC. I don't think it hurt it at all. I just don't think it was as good at holding people as they thought it would be. And I'm talking about the Dimension Shell Shock for Shredder's Revenge. Very much in the vein or similar to the Mr. X's Nightmare DLC for Street Rage 4. Although I think the Street Rage 4 one was done better because it felt more randomized. Whereas with the Dimension Shell Shock, like, yes, the enemies were randomized, but also you had there were like 5 different locations, like 5 different dimensions, or like 6 maybe, and you just kind of went all through those dimensions, and a lot of times kind of felt in like the same pattern. I don't know. There was a lot of sameness to the Dimension Shell Shock DLC, and it kind of seemed like it died off, or at least my interest in it died off really quickly. Because, the whole point is to level up your characters so that you could earn like new color palettes for them. But in the end, the gameplay was fun at its core because it was just the regular game. But because you were going to the same dimensions and it felt like a lot of the sameness again and again, my interest kind of died really quickly. And what really hurt it was the fact that when you got to the end of it, or at least to the last dimension, and you could go beyond that. You could risk your rewards and go beyond that, or you could return back to the main menu. But the final boss, the guy behind the shadowy figure who had caused all this trouble, was again Super Shredder. Like, it was a perfect opportunity to put somebody else in that role, and they just went back to Super Shredder. And I love what Tribute Games did with Shredder's Revenge. I think it's the best Ninja Turtles game I've ever made, the best side-scrolling beat 'em I've ever made. But that was really disappointing just to have to fight Super Shredder again. And in the end, I really wish that instead of Dimension Shell Shock, they just gave us more levels with a bunch of bosses at the end. Like, there's so many bosses you could have added to this game instead of just having like cameos in the back of Dimension Shell Shock in the background, that even if you just gave us 5 or 6 more levels with a boss at the end, tack that onto the regular game, I felt like that would have been better. I would have been happier with that. Even though I will say, I will give Tribute Games credit. recently they shadow dropped two new playable characters, Mona Lisa and Mondo Gecko, which was a really nice surprise. So they've continued to add to the game in ways we didn't expect. So I do appreciate all the hard work they put into the game. I just feel like I didn't get as much out of Dimension Shell Shock as I would have hoped, or as I would have out of just extra levels and bosses. I know that you get to the end of the levels, you beat the bosses, and you feel like you're done, but over time, I would be more willing to go back and play through the story mode and fight all the bosses again and go through the levels rather than just play Dimension Shell Shock. I don't know. I thought it was obviously with Street Rage 4, it was kind of a proven formula. It worked. I just don't think it worked as well in Dimension Shell Shock and Treasure Revenge. So it was disappointing in hindsight, but I don't necessarily think it hurt the game.
In chat, Saber does talk about how the Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer was unbelievably the best thing they ever did. And before we move on to the next question, I'm changing my answer, Suicide Squad. And on to the next question.
Wow. I will tell you, I did receive a Facebook message from Dex saying, based on your passion, I am downloading the Suicide Squad trial.
Good.
Shout out to Dex.
I hope Dex enjoys it.
Matt, I think we call those the Brave 300, who are out there on Steam.
It was less than 300.
They're out there fighting the Persians.
Last question from Thomas. Name one game. I'm sorry, no, that wasn't. Okay, yes. Name one game that did not benefit from having an intellectual license that should have boosted its sales.
See, I want to say a sports game, but I don't know. Tom's, I'm going to say I'm confused by your question because if a game was based on a character, obviously they had to have the license. So I'm not really sure. So my only thought is like a sports game like NFL Blitz or something like that. Or I can't even say NBA Jam because NBA Jam had the real players. So I'm a little confused by your question.
It's just, think of it. Think of it like Outlaws. Star Wars IP should have just boosted the sales to astronomical levels, but it didn't do that. So,
I read his question wrong. I apologize.
Yeah, my problem is it's not like I follow tons of sales that I'm like, okay, this one failed even though it should have been good. So, maybe it, like Will is saying in chat, low-hanging fruit, leave my balls out of this. I'm going to say Outlaws because technically it's a Star Wars IP and it's a pretty decent one at that. So the sales should have been there, but I think Ubisoft's strategy is really what failed it.
So you think Star Wars Eclipse by Quantic Dream has any chance at this point?
I think people are going to be not too happy. I think they're going to be gun shy on it because it's a different type of Star Wars.
I got a couple answers here that I'll throw out to you guys. First one being WB 2K Battlegrounds, that very stylized WB game that came in the wake of what the tragedy was WWE 2K20, was it? There was a really bad 2K20 game, and they canceled the next year's game and put out Battlegrounds instead. And it was very much an arcade-style wrestling game that you figure with a WB license would sell really well. But that game, I think, tanked pretty hard. Now, granted, I think it's also because the game wasn't very good, from what I hear. But that's a game that I think that was licensed, you think that would do really well, and just didn't, probably for various reasons. The other game I am going to say, and Tricky might take some umbrage with this, I don't necessarily know the sales or whatnot, but I have to wonder if the game have done even better with MCU movie character faces, and that's the Avengers that Tricky played. I think that the characters not looking like they did in the MCU after we had gotten used to how characters looked in the MCU movie universe for the longest time kind of hurt that game. And I think that having those licenses, the mega popular Marvel license at the time, that game should have done better. Now, whether it was the development of it or the gameplay, I don't know. But I think that it definitely wasn't helped by the fact that the characters did not look as they did in the movies. Tricky, do you think that's a fair point?
Yes and no. That game was in development for, I think it was like the last 5 years of the MCU. I'm saying that up to Endgame. I think the biggest problem with Avengers was the fact that not necessarily the characters didn't look like the movie characters. I think the voices threw everybody off more than the actual appearance of the characters.
I'm gonna say this: I was okay with the voices. My issue is, and it's not that they looked different than their MCU counterparts. They looked weird in comparison to their MCU counterparts because they were trying to make them look like their MCU counterparts, but not. If you're following me, it's like they were the Wish version.
Yeah, that's fair. I think what really ultimately killed Avengers, because the gameplay was good. I think what ultimately killed. Okay, I'm saying that with a grain of salt. But I think the problem is that the play style between the characters was so different that what you felt like Iron Man or Hulk or Black Widow should be able to do, they weren't doing. And I don't know how to explain that other than, like, you would think,
aren't you countering your argument for Suicide Squad then?
No, because Suicide Squad, the only difference between the characters is essentially how they traverse, and certain characters could only use certain weapons. Like Deadshot uses an assault rifle and a sniper rifle. Harley Quinn uses an SMG and a heavy weapon. So what you pick up for this character doesn't work on other characters. Where in Avengers, you weren't picking up gear. You weren't picking up weapons that went to every character. Every single character had a different gear set that just boosted their stats up. And it was just way too different. Like, you had to actively go out and grind for Iron Man gear. You had to go out and grind for Captain American gear. Where in Suicide Squad, I could pick up a piece, and it could be used by up to 3 other characters. Like Zoe uses an SMG, and I don't know her second weapon, because I haven't really gotten into her too much. So Avengers, I think, failed because, well, nobody wanted a live service Avengers game. But I think that the characters just played too differently. Like, I mained Captain America because I thought he had the best abilities, but I really wanted to play as Iron Man because he's my favorite MCU character. With Suicide Squad, like, I'm maining Deadshot, but obviously, I want to play as Harley Quinn, but I can't.
Yeah. Yield, I think we're still waiting on you to give an answer.
I don't know if I have one. So
right.
that's where I'll stand on that.
Going once, going twice, sold.
Sold.
What was that, Yield?
Said sold.
Sold. What? All right, time to close out the show. Thank you.
Hold on, Matt. Real quick. Rick had a question from last week that I told him I would answer because I was not on last week.
Sorry, Rick.
So yeah, I just want to make sure I got this in there, and I'm glad I remembered because I want to forget week over week stuff. So Rick wanted to know last week: is there one game out there that Alex has platted that if he suddenly got a second trophy list, he'd break his code and go through and all over again for another plat? And Rick, if I don't answer your question in the way you want or I don't understand it fully, please let me know. But that's kind of what I did with Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus this year, right? Because I originally platinumed the game as part of the Sly trilogy on the PS3, but I went back and played Sly and the Thievius Raccoonus this year when it was released on the PlayStation Network because it had a completely separate trophy list, brand new trophies, and of course another platinum. So, Rick, for me, if a game comes out as re-released, and like it had been like 13 or so years since I had played any of the Sly games, which is nuts because I love those games. But if a game comes out and it's been enough time between playing them, and it's got a new trophy list, which the Sly PSN release had a much better trophy list than the collection released years ago. Separate trophy list with different trophies, then I'm down to platinum it again. It's not like a hard and fast rule. I don't like to just go and play the same game 4 times just to earn the same trophies. I will say that if like it's been 15 years, I'm like, man, they released Sly 2 with the same trophies, but I really want to play it again, I'm not going to stop myself from playing it just because of the same trophies. I am willing to go get those again. But in general, it's going to be, there's a certain amount of time in between. I'm going to have to want to play it again just to play the game again. The trophies aren't the main concern. But if it does have a separate trophy list, new trophies, then that's one of the ways that I will go back and say, yeah, I definitely want to play that game. So hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, it's either time or a separate trophy list. It'll make me go back and play a game and earn trophies for the game that I maybe had platinum before.
All right, let me just throw like a little bit of a twister in here for you, Alex. If they suddenly released a Rocket League PlayStation 5 version and you could earn all the trophies and it wasn't an auto pop, are you going to play Rocket League on the 5 or are you going to stay on the 4 version?
I'm gonna stay on the 4. I will give you an example of something I would do, and I've talked about this before on the show. So sorry if you've heard this before, but Twisted Metal Black. They released a version of Twisted Metal Black on the PSN with 13 trophies, no platinum. If they released that game on the PSN with a platinum trophy and a longer list, I mean, really just with a platinum trophy, I'd be happy. But with a longer list of trophies, because that game, they released Twisted Metal and Twisted Metal 2 last year, and they both have a platinum. They did that with Twisted Metal Black, even though there's already a trophy list for Twisted Metal Black that I've earned everything for. I would go back and play that because I think Twisted Metal Black deserves a platinum.
All right,
just don't do online. Please don't have online trophies for that. They didn't for Twisted Metal 2 or 1, but please don't have online trophies for Black. That'd be terrible.
All right, I have a question, and not to extend the show, but it just I put this on Facebook and nobody answered the question as far as the host. So I just want to know your answers. When you're eating cereal, what goes in the bowl first, the cereal or the milk?
Cereal.
Okay, we're all in agreement. Because the video I posted in the Facebook group, the girl puts the milk in first and she warms up the milk, which I found was weird.
No, thank you. I thought you were going to go the Always Sunny route, the It's Always Sunny route, and ask if you eat cereal while driving. Has anyone seen that episode? It's Always Sunny.
Yep.
I don't watch the shitty. I don't watch shitty
It fucking kills me every single time.
Don't you even start with you and your shitty shows.
A war broke out. Matt, we got to add Matt to that chat because a war broke out in the Rocket League group chat.
I am not taking movie or show recommendations from Tricky ever again.
And I'm not taking anyone from Yield.
All right.
Look, Black Hair in the chat said cereal goes in first. Who the fuck puts milk in first? I don't know. There's some people that do that.
I've met some people that do that, but they're friends, so I will not judge them too harshly.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that you don't speak to them anymore.
We're not on speaking terms anymore.
I know a guy at work. I'll stop. But after this, I know a guy at work that when he's getting ready in the morning to go out, he does sock shoe instead of sock shoe. That drives. When he told me that, I lost all respect for him.
All right, we are over the 2-hour mark. It is time for us to close this show down. Yield your shout out, sir.
Shout out to Matt, Alex, and Tricky for recording night. Shout out for everybody who was hanging out in the Twitch chat. Shout out to Gareth for his trophy community event that he is doing. Shout out to Nitro and the Brain 76 for some Rocket League. Shout out to my wife who celebrated a birthday this past week. And shout out to all the pimps and the madams of the Whoredom. Thank you for downloading, listening, interacting with us, listening to the show. But you guys are awesome.
All right, Alex.
I want to give a shout out to the listeners, the fans, the fuel to the fire that is Trophy Horse. Fine people like Rick and Thomas. Thank you all for keeping us going. We do this show. I mean, we enjoy each other's company. We enjoy talking, but really our community feedback and the people within our community are the reason that we still go as hard as we do. So thank you all very much for your continued support. It means absolutely everything. A shout out to Yield, Tricky, and Matt. I also want to give a shout out to the Kentucky Wildcats, who last week in college football went down to Oxford, Mississippi, and defeated the number 6 Ole Miss Rebels. And hopefully that doesn't jinx us for next week because we got to go. We play Vanderbilt at home. And if you know anything about college football, Vanderbilt beat #1 Alabama this week. So we'll see how that goes. But shout out to the Wildcats and head coach Mark Stoops for beating Ole Miss, knocking them down a few pegs. Last but not least, give a shout out to my awesome and loving girlfriend, Ashley. We had a great time in Louder Than Life last weekend, even though I caught the ick and it was rainy thanks to Hurricane Helene. But we got to see a lot of bands. A buffet of bands that we'd grown up listening to in high school, college, whatnot. So it was a good time. So I love you, hun, and that is going to be the end of my shoutouts.
All right, and Tricky.
Black Hair says Bama was a fake #1.
Well, they did beat Georgia, and hey, Georgia, we took Georgia to the limit. Kentucky only lost by 1 point. We should have won that damn game, by the way. We only lost by 1 point to Georgia, so.
And he says
Tennessee also lost today too, which is crazy.
He also says, "Damn, I've been following for 10 years."
So, a lot of top 10 teams lost.
Yeah, Bama, Tennessee,
Tennessee, Mizzou, that team up north.
You mean Michigan?
Yeah, and then there was another one who lost too, I thought.
Probably.
Black Chaos, who's biased, says Texas is the real #1.
Texas is part of the SEC. That's still really weird to say. But
I think technically they are right now.
Kentucky actually does play Texas this.
All right, I'm going to murder somebody if this show keeps going.
Well, I'm rooting for UK at that game, Alex.
All right,
we probably won't win that, but I'll see you in hell, Black Chaos.
Shout out to the guys, especially Matt and Yield for holding down the show last week as Alex decided to go get sick and I needed the week off. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to anybody that listens. Twerp you to anybody who puts milk in first. And a special shout out to Dex who has been talking to me almost daily, keeping me sane, and is now willing to try Suicide Squad. So,
twerp you to all the haters of Suicide Squad. Twerp you.
Listen, I don't care if you hate the game. I get pissed off when people go, "Oh, this game sucks," and you never even tried it or are willing to try it. That's what's pissing me off. It's people like Yield. Yield, I'm fucking with you. But
I know. I just had the best with you.
But yeah, shout out to everybody. Shout out to the goddess. Shout out to Sweet Mama D, and yeah, that's it.
Shout out to the folks in chat. I saw Saber, Will, Black Chaos, Otaku, Dex, and I think that was pretty much it for chat. Shout out to the Channel 3 community, channel3.gg for social media based around gaming. We just started season 10, so now's the perfect time to get in early, start earning that XP. Shout out to Will for his wonderful graphics that gets us every week for the thumbnails on our videos.
I'm sorry. I do want to. I didn't say this. I didn't have a chance last week. I want to give a special shout out to Will for the thumbnail 2 weeks ago. That meant a lot to me. I'm gonna start tearing up. He made some changes to it to my request, and that thumbnail meant a hell of a lot to me, dude. I want to give you a special shout out. I forgot to do that. I apologize. Sorry, Matt.
No, absolutely. Definitely give credit where credit's due. And shout out to my wife, V. Thank you for everything you do. So with that said, Tricky.
Happy trophy hunting.
See ya.
Later.
Trophy Horse, EG.